Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to Football Inc. It's episode 3. It's Sunday the 19th of January. We hope you're all doing happy and healthy. And we've got a very interesting story. And listen, we could be going around the houses. In fact, we're going to do that on a 4th video around all the transfer news that's emerging out of the Premier League this weekend and in La Liga, for what it's worth. But we're going to save that for later. Right now, we've got one topic on our mind, and it's Manchester City. We've got a whole transfer merry-go-round of people coming in and leaving the club. Pep Guardiola's comments, investment into the club from their owners, investment into the city from their owners. What does that mean for 115 charges or 130 charges? Does it all mean it's done, it's dusted, and they got away with it? Or does it mean that they're getting ahead of the curve because they know that there's bad news that's going to be reported in the spring? We're here to discuss it with you, and we've got Jonny H3232, part of the channel. How are you, Jonny?
I'm okay. You know, Manchester City dominating the news. You know, we're all waiting for the news. Will they be charged? Will they get off? Will they finally be charged? Will they be relegated? But they seem to just shrug it off and carry on as business as normal, as we're about to find out right now.
Yeah, listen, guys, before we get into it, smash the like button if you enjoy Jonny and I's kind of dynamic duo content. If you get on the right side of the shtick, hit the subscribe if you haven't already. We are at 400 subscribers from 2 videos, not too bad, but we want to get much further. So if you wouldn't mind, hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can be alerted first, and hit the comment section and drop that sort of thoughts that are coming out of your head onto the screen so that we can all see them as well. Guys, Jonny, let's start with the biggest news obviously coming out of Manchester City, the confirmed news about Haaland's, is it a 9.5 or a 9-year deal?
240 million pounds. Small change.
Quite insane for a player that, I mean, technically cost 50 million pound, but obviously there's 50 million pound that went into certain people's pockets before the deal was done originally.
You're insinuating underhand dealings by Manchester City? Surely not.
I'm simply insinuating that somebody has to have their finger in a few different pies to make a deal like that work, and it doesn't always go in the same directions that you think it does.
No, it's a good question, because the one thing that's baffling me is I thought after Chelsea doing the 8-year deals that those deals were banned by the Premier League.
No, they're not banned. It's just that you can only amortize it.
You can't amortize it, but I thought that they were changing the rules on that.
No, well, so you can still technically sign players to as long as you want. If you want to do a 20-year deal, you can do. But in terms of the ability to write down the cost of the transfer as an amortized spend against your squad, I think it's limited to 6 years.
5+1, I think it's 5+1.
5+1, you're right, 5+1. So, but yeah, I hadn't heard if you're saying that you'd heard that they were actually stopping contracts themselves down to 6 years, then that's interesting.
Well,
I didn't know that.
I think that they were trying to stop it so they didn't circumvent the rules. I mean, clubs aren't circumvented. Look, the thing is, Viana was not meant to be coming in here until the summer, but they seem to have obviously heard or got a feeling that these charges are forthcoming. Or they're not coming. We don't know. We have to read into it. But the fact that
it's interesting, isn't it, mate? Like the fact that the thing was concluded in December, and yet there's not a leak anywhere in the press. Usually, the press have got their way of figuring out what's going on before anyone's officially knows about it. But they haven't. Right now, everyone's playing the guessing game. And when you look at these articles that are out regarding not just the long-term deal for Haaland, but the other transfers, which I'll let you divulge for us here. You have to wonder why it is they've moved all these things forward from the summer towards now.
Isn't it funny that the press seem to get hold of everything, but for the right money you can be silenced, or you know, you know, like how is this the biggest story in football?
Yeah, no one's saying a word.
And you know, we're getting the dribs and drabs of dross at the moment, clickbait non-stop. Look, they're signing. They seem to be signing Kusanov. They're looking at signing Mamouche.
That deal's almost done. Mamouche, I think, is basically signed and sealed. Kusanov is done already, apparently.
Kusanov done. Victor Reis from Palmeiras, the Brazilian boy, that's been forward-winded. And Cambiasso looks like it's going to get done as well. So, you know, it's 190 million pounds in the January transfer window. Technically, you know, well...
It's a lot of money, mate. It's a lot of money for a January transfer window, isn't it? I don't think there's ever been that much money spent in a January window across all teams put together ever before.
No, I mean, when you look at the January transfer window, our club, Tottenham, with the biggest spenders, spending 5 million on Radu and that Timo Turbo Werner.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I personally think that they know that there could be an embargo, a transfer embargo. So until it is done, technically you're still open for business, right? So let's get them in. Let's get the players in. And if they do truck us down to the Championship, we're not going to be affected. We're not going to be affected here.
Yeah, look, it's so. Look, I completely agree with you, mate. That there's a logic to the notion that you're going to go and sign all these young players. Most of these people that they're signing are fairly young, and the fact that the timing. Why front load it right now? You got some comments here from City's Pep Guardiola, who said, "Where is he? Let me get the comments up." He said. Spending heavily in the transfer market and handing Haaland a new contract suggests that they feel. This is from a legal source. It suggests that they feel they have cleared themselves of at least the most serious allegation. So the legal sources are making the presumption that it's not because they're getting in front of the problems. It's because the problems are not a problem anymore. They're not. They're solutions, and the solution is, well, look, there's no more worries. We got away with it. We managed to find a loophole. And let's be entirely honest, mate, as you know, as much as I do, we do a lot of content on this stuff. Loopholes in the Premier League laws are very easy to find. We found 10 ourselves in about half an hour last year, just by playing hypothetical football. And one of them came true about 20 minutes later. But look, I mean, in terms of, there's the other side of the coin is, it's not necessarily them getting in front of it's not just sorry, I can't speak. It's not necessarily them getting in front of a problem. It's the fact that the problems have gone away and now they don't have to worry about it and they can go into their coffers because they haven't got to pay massive fines. They haven't got transfer embargoes. And so they can just go and spend all the players. And Pep Guardiola has intimated that he needs a rebuild. He's been at the club for 8.5, 9 years. A lot of those players have grown old with him and in their 30s. They're not performing to the same level. And this season, you've finally seen it falling off a little bit. And so he's needed to go again. What's more likely in your opinion? Are they getting in front of something or are they putting something to bed and moving on?
I think they're getting in front of something personally. Listen, we're all guessing here, but I think for the greater good of the game, pardon, I don't know how that came out of my mouth. But if, obviously being a Spurs fan, sometimes, that sort of rubbish comes out. I think if Man City get away with this for the good of the game, it's a disaster waiting to happen. And I think football fans across the board really should be treating this like the Super League. If they do get away with it, there should be protests from all the fan groups, all the fan base against it if it does happen. I feel that, really they should be getting a massive points because you can't actually relegate them as such, but you can give them a big enough points deduction that would relegate them to the Championship. They can't do what happened to Glasgow Rangers, where they went from the Premier League to the 4th division, or they're technically the 4th division. Yeah, but they need to relegate this club because the credibility is at stake here of the Premier League, and if they get away with it. Look, Chelsea are about to do the same. We've uncovered the same sort of payments that Manchester City have made, but we've told you about them. Yeah. So really, we shouldn't be punished because it's not our bag. No, the club itself should be punished because the club itself, Chelsea, benefited from the deals they did with Hazard and all the rest of them.
Yep. And Willian to Tottenham.
And Willian, yeah. I mean, Willian.
Not just that, the girl. I forget her name. Is it Zakharova? I might be completely butchering it. Roman Abramovich's PA, his sexy PA, that was also the beneficiary of like 2 or 3 apartments in Chelsea to the tune of £1 million or £2 million or something. So it was an insignificant number in the grand scheme of things, but ultimately all that stuff is paid off the books as a way to reduce the cost of salaries on the books that therefore allows you to make some sort of shenanigans. All of these things are very, very easy if you're smart enough to have a little, a thought process around it. How do we make our books look lighter than they really are? And a lot of Chelsea fans have always said to me, Johnny, there's no way that Bowley and Chelsea today should have to face the consequences of the actions of the previous owner. That's like saying that you move into a house where a murder took place 10 years before you lived there and you go to prison for life. It's not the same thing because Chelsea are still benefiting right now from the brand that they have harvested as a consequence of those cheating.
More than that, though, they shouldn't be punished for the indiscretions of the past, yet they're willing to pay out money for those indiscretions.
Yeah, exactly.
But not take the point deduction for the indiscretions of the past. And
exactly.
Right? Okay. Chelsea should be getting a points deduction for those. So should Manchester City. I feel sorry for the owners and the Chelsea fans for not knowing. They are the victims of this. But
they're not the victims. They're not the victims. Chelsea were nowhere before.
No, I'm not meaning that. I'm talking about the fans. I'm talking about the fans not knowing, about any of this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're not technically responsible, therefore they shouldn't be punished. But ultimately, that's what look at when Bentancur got an 8. We're talking about Tottenham today, but Bentancur got an 8-game suspension for making a racial slur. The real victim there was Tottenham Hotspur fans who had to see their team.
Enzo Fernandez made something even worse. Yeah, but he couldn't be done because he was on international duty, therefore outside the jurisdiction. Listen, look, the rules are a farce, and Manchester City, for the credibility of the game, have to be punished. And I think these deals that they're doing now are to get ahead of the game. No, I'm not sure when anyone spent 190 million in
January.
January.
I honestly can't remember a January where between the entire 20 teams in the Premier League, 190 million pound was dropped. It's crazy. Not just that, mate. There's other parts of sort of the story here, and I want to kind of just shift this towards, what you mentioned there about the fans of the Premier League, football fans should be uniting here. And I want to come back to that, but before we get into it, City's Abu Dhabi and American owners, according to the Mirror here, have already spent £300 million to build a new stand, a hotel, and a leisure complex at the north end of the Etihad Stadium. And they also invested very heavily in the £450 million Co-op Live Arena, a state-of-the-art concert venue that is the biggest in the country with a 20,500 seater capacity. Now, we spoke about this many times on the Spurs Talk Show, Johnny, and on Sean Butler TV. I've mentioned it a lot as well, where you look at people like Daniel Levy. This isn't about Tottenham, but just generally speaking, you look at Daniel Levy, who's done that kind of gentrification around the Tottenham area, and obviously he's benefiting from having a multi-purpose arena multi-purpose stadium. Lots of revenue streams that are being generated outside of the responsibility of just Tottenham fans, which I think is a good thing and should be applauded. But you look forward to places like Newcastle United, who haven't really had the benefit yet of the Saudi ownership because they've been sort of hand-tied, if you like, handcuffed to the rules. They've worked within them, despite Mike Ashley, former chairman, living very frugally and keeping their numbers in check, allowed them to spend a lot of money. So it's not like Newcastle haven't spent money, but they are at least not overtly kind of sidestepping the rules just yet. But when you look at a place like Newcastle, a very vibrant, young, healthy, and really kind of party-like soul of that city, and it is also a one-club town that it's deprived. It's kind of the city itself is obviously from the coal mining days. It hasn't really recovered, and so it's a working class town that is ripe for gentrification if that is your ultimate goal, and that's where Newcastle will probably go, right, in the same sort of direction as what Man City's owners have done in Manchester and what Daniel Levy's tried to do in Tottenham.
Yeah, so why do you think the Rubin brothers are involved? Everyone's focusing on the PIF, right? The Saudi PIF fund, but it's the Rubin brothers' 15% stake, which is the interesting one because, the money is not in owning the football club. The money is buying the football club and then winning favour with the fans and the councils and the community about investing in the area. And like you said about Manchester, Manchester City, the 300 million they've invested in the state-of-the-art arena and all the other things, that's where the money is. That's where the profit for them is, owning these properties.
And it's where the wiggle room can be on the infrastructure spend. Infrastructure is not limited to the women's team and to training grounds and stadiums. It's extended to hotels in the case of Chelsea and in the case of Tottenham. It's extended to all sorts of different areas. And so like the Saudis and the Rubin brothers could easily, you could see them going, well, if all of this stuff counts under the Newcastle United FC accounts, then they could literally buy up 2 square miles around the stadium.
Well, they will. And listen, the thing is, What council is going to refuse them? Look, we are going to change Newcastle. We are going to build X. We're going to build you an arena. We're going to build you new homes, new housing. The Rubin brothers are huge property guys. There's a reason why they're on board for their 50% stake. No doubt. I mean, whilst they're very, very wealthy in their own right, the Saudi PIF fund will be happy probably to fund in a JV with the Rubin brothers on the redevelopment of the area. And the income that will bring is far greater than any money that they will earn from the ownership of the club.
But it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander, right? Newcastle United fans don't care. The councils will love it. They'll probably get their brown paper bags with money stuffed in it as well. Let's be honest, it's human nature. And at the end of the day, you can see that Newcastle United fans right now are probably frustrated by the fact that they haven't been able to take advantage of the unbelievable wealth that they have access to. But it's only a matter of time, especially if Manchester City get away with their 150, 130 charges. That is looking, at least the legal experts are suggesting that that's the scenario here.
Yeah, listen, it'll be open season. I mean, look, we said we weren't going to talk about it, but certain clubs, let's not even mention their names, certain clubs have geared themselves to the PSR and FFP rules, right? And
that to me though, this is I'm just sorry, mate. The PSR and the FFP thing, like as a Tottenham fan, we've got an owner who looks to work within the rules, was hoping that the PSR and the FFP would have teeth. It clearly hasn't. And yet when you have a section of your fan base who believe that the owner is the root of all evils at your particular club, and I'm not talking just about Tottenham, because if, as I say, there's five teams get 90% of all trophies. So if you're a fan of Aston Villa, Newcastle, Nottingham Forest, Derby, West Brom, Wolves, Everton, all these teams that used to win trophies that now don't, if Daniel Levy's the root of all problems at Tottenham, then is Daniel Levy or an equivalent chairman the root of all evil at those clubs?
Yeah,
no, I know, but my point is that if you want there to be more success at your club, then you should all unite. Every fan of every club should unite behind a message of enough is enough with the Premier League lawmakers that make rules that prevent some teams from joining the party, but allow other teams who are already at the top table to continue to circumvent, because the smartest minds in the room are spending their time figuring out the loopholes rather than the correct way to adhere to it.
Yeah, and it's the same too. Listen, let's be honest, it's been the same too, over and over again. The £1 billion that Abramovich, the debt that he owed Chelsea has been written off, which is being used to, to spend the money. It's farcical because it's there in black and white for anyone who wants to delve in and see. But look, it's early days. I'm sure we'll be doing more videos on this, Sean.
So many. So many videos to come on this particular topic. It's a topic that never stops, isn't it?
I just think that this is a story that's set to run. Listen, I hope we're wrong, and I hope that they do get fined. But I think if they get let off, it will be a farce, and one that needs to be looked at seriously. What we don't want is government intervention.
100%. The regulator for football is not going to make anything better, are they?
No, they're going to make it worse. It's already, it already needs sorting out. But there's no point bringing in an incompetent government to help make it even worse. Thank you very much. Yeah. So let's hope that the Premier League has seen sense and the law courts have seen sense, and they give Man City fans, it's nothing personal. I just think this is for the good of the game, that something is done, whether it's 20, 30, 40 points, whatever, but they need to be punished.
Yeah, the only thing I would say to counter that is, again, it's nothing personal to any fans of any clubs that are the beneficiaries of this ownership type. I'm jealous, but I'm not. That's not the basis of my thoughts, at least. But I think that a slap on the wrist, a 40-point thing, isn't like, that's a demonstration that they're guilty of something, but we don't really want to make it look that. I think you either have if they got away with it, then that's fine. If they've got away with it legally, if they found a way around it, then well, no, I just think that it's either one or the other. If they got away with it, if they found a way around the rules, like Chelsea have done, like so many chairmen have, then fair enough. Like you found a way around it. But then to me, the response should be absolute disgust, anger, and intolerance of these lawmakers, that they're not fit for purpose. They shouldn't be in charge of the game because they can't make an even playing field, and they don't want to. They're not concise enough or logically consistent with their rule making. If you can't do that, then get out of the way and bring people in that can, and that's not a government figure. But if they haven't got away with it, then you have to throw the book at them, because Everton got 10 points last season for 2 different breaches that was only overspending by a little bit, and Forest got 4 points for an infraction that actually benefited their club from a financial sustainability perspective. So you're going after the little guy. It's like, I don't know, it's like the police going after the small-time crook rather than the big crook.
They do now.
Right, exactly. You know?
What I've got to say is I think the Premier League are more fearful, if I'm brutally honest here, of the repercussions, because imagine the lawsuits that would take place when the likes of Spurs, Arsenal and others sue Manchester City for loss of revenue, league position. You'd imagine
the fallout's going to be horrendous, right?
The fallout's going to be horrendous. And, you know, there'll be clubs like Arsenal trying to claim that they won the title and therefore they should have been the beneficiaries. They should have been this, that, the World Club.
Well, so be it, though. So if that's the fallout, so be it. What I'm not clear on, what I'm not sure on, is whether or not your lawyer spend counts again. I don't think it counts against the squad cost ratios, but it should count against something on your books to be able to say. I'm sure Manchester City have paid their lawyers an absolute fortune over the last 3 years.
You know what? I'll tell you what's a farce, that Manchester City are having to fight the lawyers of the Premier League. We're fighting our own people in our own league. So the rest of the clubs are having to play, including Manchester City, having to contribute to the Premier League's lawyers to fight Man City lawyers.
Yeah, and don't forget at the same time, you've got at the bottom end of the league, you've got Leicester City that used the Premier League's own appeal process against the Premier League lawmakers in order to get out of their own problems only a few months ago. It's a farce, Johnny. Listen, the story doesn't stop here, but the video probably should. We've been going for 23 minutes already. We've got lots to talk about coming up. Johnny, me and you will be back later on after the Tottenham game. And where can people find us, mate?
Well, you can find me here, Jonny H32, on Twitter, and Talking Tottenham 1882, and obviously on the new channel, Football Inc. Don't forget to subscribe, guys. There's going to be lots of content. It's not all going to be financial, so don't worry. There's going to be transfers, there's going to be controversy, because football is all about controversy week in and week out. So stay tuned, share and subscribe, and look forward to bringing you more content. And we're going to up it. Obviously, our logo and everything else and our intro is a bit basic at the moment, but that's getting looked at. Thanks very much, Sean, and I look forward to doing some more with you soon.
Cheers, Johnny. Cheers, everybody. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always,
come on,
you everybody. Exhibit A of our lack of preparedness. No exit play there. See you later. Bye-bye. Ciao.